Awa, thank you for coming to my studio.
You're welcome.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. You know, it is cold outside, but I love when it snows only because like I feel like the world is much brighter because like all the snow is reflecting the light into the atmosphere.
Ooh, I did notice that today. I tried to find my sunglasses while I was driving for a second.
It's bright, isn't it?
And I was like, what am I doing? I can do this. We've been doing this for many years. Thank you for coming to the studio. We've worked together on many productions. If I rewind to the very first time, it was actually at the Rosedale Mall. Do you remember? For their spring campaign, and we ended up squeezing a music video into it with some motorcycles and stuff.
Very negatory.
Very. We definitely balled out and everyone showed up. But I especially remember you because you were shooting photos of us in the fits. And first time meeting you, so I didn't know your personality or your style or anything. But at least for me, you got me ready to go. I was just naturally just smiling because you were making jokes while we're shooting the shots. And I think that's just something that at least everyone that I know feels about you, is that you just always bring out the best energy out of everyone. And I just want to rewind to that moment in time where you were in your career, in your creative process. And if you can just take us back to then and that version of Awa.
Let's see. I'd say that version of Awa was really doing a lot. I feel like that was the time where I was doing my own photography stuff. I was also working with Justin and Charles on a lot of projects. So I was always somewhere doing something all the time. It was very collaborative too. I feel like that was right before everybody moved out of the city. So it's very much we were all getting things together and working. But yeah, for me personally, I was just in my grind era. I was really showing up, giving it my all. I was shooting. What was I shooting? At that shoot, I was doing the editorial stuff that they were gonna use for the assets and the website or whatever, and then I was also shooting BTS at the same time.
Yeah.
So it was kind of that was me back then. I was on set doing two things at once. I was just doing a lot of things all the time.
And in that moment, do you think you were still kind of developing and learning what even is your process, or were you kind of in your groove even at that time?
I feel like I've been always trying to develop my process, but I've had many processes within, a big process. So at that time, it was with the film cameras, I had my film set up. I knew where I was gonna, I had my processes back then. I knew what to do. I was comfortable. But I'm still overall in a bigger picture, just trying to figure out my process with things.
Yeah. And now fast forward to maybe a month ago now, the Ida Shoots Her Shot premiere, which I had the pleasure of attending and watching that firsthand. And shout out to the whole team. It was amazing not only to see the film, but then hear the stories that you all had and actually going behind the scenes of what it took to put it all together. And I think your role definitely doesn't go unnoticed. So to see the progression from that moment and that version of Awa back at the Rosedale Mall shoot to now doing a short film, which you had expressed that was something you always kind of wanted to do. So how does it feel now having that under your belt, fulfilling kind of a dream? And tell us a little bit more about your role in helping produce and make Ida Shoots Her Shot.
So before the actual shooting of the Ida Shoots Your Shot that everyone saw, there was an original version where I was supposed to be Ida or at least one of the main characters. I was supposed to be Ida, and we were supposed to shoot I think we're supposed to shoot right in the beginning of COVID. That was the plan before we knew COVID was the thing. And so back then that was my role, was I'm gonna be an actress. I also always want to be an actress as well.
I think that stuff is still gonna happen.
I always want to be an actress. I'm I feel I could play a little role. But obviously that didn't happen. And then when it came around again, like, you know, I wasn't Ida and stuff like that. And I decided to be a focus puller, which is somebody that just like pulls focus on like sets, because sometimes with certain projects, the camera person can't manually like focus at the same time, and you can't use autofocus. Like it's not cute. So I was pulling focus because like I just like being on a set, but I was also not trying to do photography at the time. Like I was in my I don't want to touch a camera era.
So this is you in your era of, you had one specific role, and maybe you did help out here and there and other stuff, but you know.
Yeah, this is my role where I was like, this is the opposite of when you met me. This was literally 180. I'm like, I don't want to do anything. I don't want to think about anything. I don't, especially want to touch a camera. Like, this is the opposite role. So I didn't have much in like the producing aspect. Just like obviously like working in the city, like everyone's kind of like always working and not working at the same time, officially, unofficially. But yeah, it was a great time. It was a great time, and especially because obviously everybody. I feel like when you work in like media, a short film or a film in general is like one of those things. It's like your Emmy before you even get one. You're like, yo, I gotta shoot a short film. Like I'm not shit unless I shoot like a long format version of a project. And so doing that was really, really cool. And I got to see the process. Like now I know, like if other people want to do short films, I kind of have a knowledge about like, okay, this is amount of work that goes into it, especially making a great one. So yeah, it was a great time.
And for those of the people that weren't able to be there, what would you say was a highlight of that whole process, specifically from your perspective? And then what is maybe a less glamorous thing that maybe happened along the way?
Well, let's start with the less glamorous first. Oyenda kind of talked about it at the premiere, but like there was a part on the first day, which is like first day is usually the most stressful because everybody's like, oh shit, this is real, you know, like whatever, really tensions are high, you know what I mean? You're kind of breaking the ice. And so there was a part where there was lighting that was already like predetermined, and then being in the space, you kind of see, being in space and seeing people, you kind of see things differently. And so they were like talking about changing the lighting or whatever, and they changed the lighting, and then they were kind of like, you know, as artists, when you're like, am I overthinking it? Was that the right decision? But you're on the spot, so you're kind of just like, should I just continue and go with it?
Gotta roll with
and then
it.
the other people in the room are like, I don't know. You know? So it was like, when that space where like everybody had an opinion in their head, and they were just like, And so that created a riff in the moment, because it was kind of like, everybody was kind of like, what do we do right now? Like, you know?
Yeah.
But I feel like, but they just ended up shooting it and then changed the lighting and then shooting that again, you know. But it was you know, it was one of those points where it was like the tension. It was like first day tensions, you know. Yeah. You know, before everybody realizes that like, okay, everything's gonna be okay. Like, you know, like we can all relax.
First day of school.
Yes, literally.
Trying to figure out.
Literally.
The class.
Taking everything personal. You're like, oh my god. And then I feel like the highlight. Ooh, okay. One of the basketball scenes were shot at Oyenda's high school that she went to, and it was super cool because, like, it would be so cool if I was in high school and I saw a bunch of literally young black people rolling in like expensive camera equipment. I'd be like, what the fuck is going on? So that was really cool because I know she's a Pisces, and we all love full circle moments. You're like, I'm back in my high school shooting a short film, like doing what I love, like. Yeah. So that was really cool.
Oh my goodness. I can only imagine. And with that said, that was all produced and made here in Minnesota. You've been living here for quite some time.
Too long.
How have you seen the evolution of the creative scene here as far as like people working together and the types of projects people are working on, and how has that continued to like make you want to still be around, if that makes sense? Because I know you probably have many other opportunities or have thought about, you know, leaving. Yes. And when I say leaving, it doesn't mean forever.
Yeah, not for, honestly, I personally couldn't leave forever because the world is going to burn and drown, and this place is not going to do either of those.
It's not on the list.
So I'm always going to be here because the trees, I can't take the trees for granted.
True.
The trees and the lakes, we can't take that for granted.
True. But yeah, as far as like the creative scene here, how has that kind of sparked your creativity and, shaped your personality and kind of who you are? Yeah.
I feel like my first creative experiences were like late high school, and I had like met Philly and stuff like that. And then like got introduced to like It's Fest and like those type of communities. And I feel like it's really grown since then. Like I feel like back then I only knew of a few art spaces, or like we were creating the art spaces, and now it's like those things are established and other people feel more welcome to like create their own. Like there's so much to do now. But I feel like, I don't know. I feel like it's nice to have art accessibility. Like people can actually, like if you want to do something, like if you want to make music, like this is the place to be. Like if you want to make music, like first of all, everybody can make music. There are so many different opportunities to make music, so many people that are knowledgeable. And I feel like, great platforms. If you want to do photography, like there's so many resources. And then there's like PF if you want to do a show, like if you want to do fine art, they have residencies. So I feel like there's so many opportunities for people to do art where like before it was like I don't know if I should like stay here and do it, or if I should leave, or like is it possible? Where are the resources? Where are the spaces? Where are the people? Yeah. But now it's like a plethora, and like I've heard people in the suburbs, like want to come to Minneapolis and like do art. Just what I've heard.
I always get that question, like, especially for people who are just like you said, trying to get their foot in the door and figure out like who can they get connected with and stuff. I'm just like, yo, follow these people. They post these events. Just show up, literally. Have a smile, be positive. Don't take space, but be like a listener at first, right? And genuinely build those connections, because everyone here, as long as your intentions are good, they'll rock with you.
Literally, it's like, yeah, it's like if you follow those steps, if you go somewhere and you're friendly, and you continue to do that, I'm pretty sure in the next 3 months or whatnot, you're gonna have a whole group of like friends and resources available to you.
Speaking of which, you have been curating your own space and your own identity as well, working with Quay, Pure Water Radio, and then the beat battles, which I think I went to the second one at PF where you guys had the ring in the middle.
That was the first one.
That was the first. I mean, yo, talk about showing out with a bang. The first beat battle was the best beat battle I ever been to. And honestly, one of the best events I ever been to. So kudos to y'all.
Humbly.
How was that vision? How'd that even come to mind? And how was the whole execution with like Pure Water Radio and then the beat battles? And not only just you're now creating that space for all these creatives to exist, which doesn't go unnoticed. So how has that been for you, seeing that vision through?
We're actually working on like a project right now. We just had to talk about like our journey so far. And I was telling Quay, like, it's crazy like we're here because like Pure Water Radio just started from us like being friends, and then Quay was randomly like, do you want to start a radio show? And I was like, that's crazy, because yes, I do. Like I do. And like I have no reason to want to start a radio show. Like I had no prior music experience. And so that just came from like us being like, yes, like literally just yes. And we just took it from there. And then the beat battle was Quay's idea. And I think for us, like with Pure Water Radio, we really want to give space to producers, just because like there's so many producers in the city, and like just having that like one-on-one experience with producers, it's like they deserve more attention when it comes to making music, because they are doing a lot of the work.
Yes.
And so the beat battle was like perfect, because we don't want our platform to be so like just artist heavy. And so we've been planning it, and honestly, what was happening? There was some stress. What was happening? I think we were trying to get a space for the beat battle, but we were like, we need to. I was like, we need to take our time, and Quay was like, no, we can do this tomorrow. And I was like, oh my God, please! Like, I can't plan an event by tomorrow. And so, but we had to plan it in like a month.
That's pretty good. Just a month.
Okay. Let's say this: we didn't have to plan a month, but like procrastination made a planet in a month.
That's still pretty good.
Yeah, and then and it's just like, I like quality things. Like I go to a lot of events and like, I be having opinions. So like I always think to myself like, okay, if you like to talk shit, if I came to my own event, what would I say? What would I think? And so that was kind of like the standard. Like,
yeah.
And it's like when people come out, I feel like when people come to events, you need to treat them well. You need to treat them like guests. Like,
yes.
Go above and beyond.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a great event, and it was really nice to see people. That was our first physical event as Pure Water Radio, ourselves producing it, and it was just really cool seeing people like actually show out, actually seeing people like do the beat battle, and it was just like having your own space and your own community is just like a different experience. You're like, oh shit, like this is
definitely, you're having an impact.
Yeah.
And then we did the state fair.
Yeah, and then we did one with Carbon Sound, which was like super cool because Carbon is like the people's radio show, in the sense of like our generation and our music. Yeah. So that was a really dope collab. And at the state fair too, it was like, whoa, like things are happening fast.
Yeah. You had you been to the state fair before?
Yeah.
And you probably saw or noticed like there was nothing like that at the state fair before. You got corn on the cob, you got Sweet Martha's cookies.
Shout out corn on the cob.
Corn on the cob does like.
Shout out corn on the cob. Oh my gosh.
But you don't got beat battle on the stick.
Beat battle on the stick.
Beat battle on the stick.
Next year's name, maybe beat battle on the stick.
That might be a good idea. I don't know. Let me help. Let me help with that one.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
We'll get you as a guest judge.
Oh my God,
you want to be a
totally
judge?
Down. I'm totally down. Totally down.
Okay.
100%. Okay. I just have one more question.
Okay.
One more question.
Well, we got through these fast.
I know. For anyone who is trying to get, let's just talk specifically like photographers. Mm-hmm. For anyone who is like, how do I get people to want to work with me? Mm-hmm. How do I get my portfolio together? All those steps that you got to take before things magically just start happening and your inbox is flooded. What would be your kind of tips and guidance? Because you've kind of gone through that. So, yeah, what would you say? Like the little nuggets that can kind of help those folks kind of get on that path.
I feel like being a photographer is one of the easiest things. I've been telling one of my other friends, I'm like, you should start doing photography. They took my camera and I was like, you're really good. You should just start. But I would say, dang, there's so much to do. I would say follow people that are sharing a lot of resources and like you admire, because you can learn a lot just by like watching other people and what they do. Build some sort of website. Canva, I'm a Canva supporter all the way. Canva has like portfolios, and you can now like, I don't know if this is premium. I have premium, so
okay.
I don't know if this is a premium feature.
Get that premium.
But Canva has a thing where you can build out a portfolio and like launch it as a website. And I'm pretty sure you're able to. I don't know how many websites you can have, but you're able to just build a portfolio and like use that as a website.
Okay.
So I would do that, or have some sort of website. Portfolios are kind of like, I don't know. I feel like depending on what you do, it can just honestly be like an album full of photos. You know, you can make it as pretty as you want. And then reach out to people. There's so many people in the city that want to be models, and then so many people that just want to like work. So like, back to the thing with events, it's like, I feel like this is the place where you can hit up people, and they'll most likely be, you know, accepting of like linking up and building. LOL.
Linking up and building.
And then I feel like people always ask about other, and I would say learn to do other work. So like learn to assist, learn to color grade, learn to retouch. Learn to shoot manual, learn to shoot a little video, like learn these other things, because like it makes doing your own projects easy. And especially if you get to a place where you can like hire other people to do stuff for you, it makes it easier for you to be like, this is what I want. And what else? Rent equipment from West Photo or the other renting houses, because like, why spend $1,000 on a lens when you can spend like $30, you know? Get a studio space. I don't have one. I've been trying to get one for so long. But yeah, if you could like get a bunch of friends together and get a studio space, I would definitely do that. What else? And then post your work. Like post. I don't do this at all, but post your work. Post your work like all the time. Post your work all the time. Like do a show. Post your work. Post BTS. But most importantly, I feel like if you want to get into photography, you should really have like a vision for like why you want to do photography and what you want to get out of photography, because I feel like it's one of those industries, especially if you're not doing like fine art photography and you're like doing like headshots and like senior photos and like weddings and stuff like that, you get lost in like what the client wants all the time, because it's like it's that type of relationship. So I feel like figure out what you really really want to do so you can balance out like doing things for other people and like doing things for yourself, because it can get a lot doing things for other people. Get an LLC, S corp, file taxes, all that, like all that stuff. They say for taxes, save like half of your money that you get for taxes, because it can really it can add up.
And did you have any mentors along the way? Like,
no, I always say people refuse to mentor me.
What?
People refuse. Like I have friends, of course, but people refuse to mentor me in the sense of like I just feel like they'd rather keep like a platonic, cordial relationship than like become a mentor. Yeah. So I've been on my own dolly. But if you're out there and you're good with finances and you like to mentor me, you know, holla at your girl.
Yeah. And your I guess like your style too, because you talked about finding your identity. You definitely, at least from my perspective, you definitely have your own look and your own aesthetic. How hard was that to mold? Or did you just have the vision?
I think I just had the vision. People always say I just have an eye, and I think it's that type of thing. Like I just know like good quality things or good looking things, because I'm still trying to develop my style, but I feel like sometimes you just have to let it go and let you do you, you know, because I feel like that's what I've been doing, and like clearly when I edit things look pretty similar, and so yeah, trying to not think too hard about like developing a style, but I definitely want to have a look that's like that's Awa, you know. Yeah.
Half the battle is just putting the work out there, let that speak for itself, and then over time you look back and you're like, oh, I did kind of I had something going
on. Literally. Whenever I look at my old work, I'm like, something going on here.
You look at your old work and you're still happy. You're still happy about it.
Yes.
You should be.
Yes.
You should be. Yeah. Well, Awa, thank you for having this conversation with me and coming to the studio.
Thank you for inviting me, Moise.
No problem.
Okay, let's do this together.
Bye.